Okay, so we have officially ended this week of Inventions. Today, I'm just going to do a brief summary of all the inventors that we've covered for the entire week. Now, we all know it's pretty obvious that every inventor has not been covered, and that does not mean that their invention was not worthy to make the list. That does not mean that they're just irrelevant, period. What I did was just pick a few inventors that I thought would be nice to create a story with. So all these inventors are not greater than other inventors of their time. They didn't put out the best inventions, and this isn't the best inventions type list. This is just a list that I wanted to put together, and these are historical figures that I think are relevant for this topic. First, Edison's Black Flunky, which is Louis Latimer. I wanted to talk about him because Thomas Edison goes down in history for being the incandescent light bulb maker, when in reality, he didn't have a functional incandescent light bulb. A black man created a functional incandescent light bulb for the world. And then I wanted to talk about black savages. Black people are constantly looked at some type of super predator, monkey monster. And what I wanted to show is that in history, the real monsters have always been white supremacists. These folks do the illest things to humans just because they think that we're inferior. It's really disgusting to even try to understand why, how, and in the present day, when is it going to end? It's crazy really to think about these white supremacists because they have always been the savages. Yet they gave us and Native American folks that title. It's very interesting. Also, Indigenous Australians. Let's also get that out there. So Black Savages was just to uncover how Black folks, regardless of the master narrative, we're always internally thinking about self-preservation, and we're thinking about how we connect to our creator and how we're a reflection of our creator. That's why Nat Turner and Toussaint L'Ouverture had to be talked about, because they used this European twist of religion to free themselves, to liberate themselves in reality. Then we talked about Black Field Hand. Black Field Hands I love Black Field Hands. It's basically talking about the environmentalists of our time. Usually when we think of environmentalists in America, to be specific, we think of white hippies hugging trees and chaining themselves to trees in the 70s. But in reality, hippie, in my definition, have always been indigenous people. Indigenous people have always loved the earth. They've always had a relationship with the earth that was positive. It wasn't until, again, white supremacists came in to where the earth looks disgusting. Our water's polluted. Our air's polluted. Our trees are cut down. Our relationship with nature has been severed. So when I talk about Black field hands, it just Black people being in the dirt and being connected to earth. So you have George Washington Carver. He healed the earth when years of slavery had diminished the nutritional value that was in the soil. He put that value, that nutrition, back into the soil. Then we go all the way over to Kenya. Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai saw how deforestation was hurting her country. And what she did was she created solutions for poverty and for the deforestation. She used people who were considered impoverished to reforest the area. And that also was giving them an income. That was also giving them value, social value, economic value. So we had to talk about her. And then Black Mamies. Usually when you think of Mamies, you think of some type of Black caricature. You think of a Black caricature that is unbeautiful, unintelligent, just all these negative things. But I wanted to show a Black Mammy can be a Black intellect. And I had covered Katherine Johnson and Shahrazad Ali because I think both of them are great female figures for the Black community. I wanted women who were able to appreciate the Black man, because right now we're in a world that always victimizes the Black woman and always demonizes the Black man. Both of these women, even though they probably don't consider themselves traditional feminists, they were. Catherine reared children. She was a housewife, but she never thought of herself as like anything below. You can tell it was like a 50-50 because her husband was sick. So she decided to work again. It wasn't like she didn't have any skills. She had all the skills. She went to school. She was one of the greatest educators and students of her time. Look what she did to NASA. She sent us to the moon. Then when we think about Shahrazad Ali didn't mind being a black intellect, and she didn't mind criticizing the black community. She also had her husband and a family to take care of while she was doing all of that. I call these two women black intellectual feminists because they're black women who knew how to keep together the black community. So that just shows a form of intellect. And since they're women, they're feminists because they do it gracefully. It's not like they have to try hard. They know exactly their role as black women in the community, which is to be an equal to black men, which is to be his 50-50, to be his support, and to not be the one that's pulling him down like the white supremacist tools. Because anyone a part of the black community that's pulling down another entity in the black community is a tool for white supremacy, and that's obvious. And then we went on to Black Telecommunications. This is my favorite inventor because he's still alive and he's still here and his potential is endless. So Dr. Victor Abegnanu, oh my gosh, this man, and when you watch his videos, you can just see how charismatic he is, how cavalier he is, how like, in a sense, it's kind of arrogance. Like, yeah, I'm smart enough to have invented something that shuts down the whole fiber optics industry. It was incredible to know that there is someone out there thinking of folks of African descent saying that, oh no, we deserve better. No, we don't need fiber optics. Yes, we do need to be connected. We need our phones to have high speed. We need our internet to have high speed. We need to be integrated into whatever everyone else is integrated in. We're the same, if not better. And yeah, he basically did that for Africa, and all he's missing is the support. So I want to put out this information to allow people to know that he exists. And the last one, but not the least, is our youngest inventor, which is Riza Islam. Riza Islam is, his work speaks for itself. I implore you to go to his YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all you will see is truth. This man's content is truth. And he's the most practical black man that I've ever laid eyes on. I mean eyes on as in the internet, because I've never met him before. Yeah, so he's the most practical black man. He talks about preserving the black woman, the black family, getting away from this culture of niggerism, which is, you're not ignorant. That's a name that these ignorant white supremacists came up with to define you. You are greater than this concept of their nigga. You are greater than this concept of enslavement, because we were never enslaved. We were free people put into chains, beat, raped, and forced into submission. That would never make us a slave. But these people perceive us as slaves or former slaves. I don't know. But either way, we have never been it and we will never be it. We are free, liberated people because we were not born in chains. God didn't put us in chains. Our creator didn't want us to only be that reality. That is a part of our form of resistance, but we are not just slaves. What I like about Riza Islam is he calls himself a black intellectual extremist, and that's exactly what he is, because it's not about his identity, it's about his intellect. And that has always been a problem for black people, is our intelligence. They didn't want us to read as slaves because you know what, in reality, those so-called slave masters, they weren't smart. They weren't the next Louis Latimer. They weren't the next Dr. Victor Abegnanu. They're not that smart. They're only as great as we allow ourselves to be, because we're the ones who grew their crops. We're the ones who, we essentially made this country. We were the labor that supported the whole, Europe. Europe wouldn't be where it was if it wasn't for our labor. Our labor in the Caribbean, our labor in Brazil, our labor across the Americas. We did everything for them. We have to remember that it had nothing to do with our identity. It had everything to do with our intellect. When they were picking up so-called slaves, they were picking up teachers, doctors, rice planters, astronomers. They were picking up folks who had intelligence. It has always been about our intelligence. The only people that don't know about it is us. So this whole compilation of inventors is just to say that black people are the most intelligent folk that have ever been birthed from humanity. And that's something that I want everyone to take away from this February 2021. Enjoy your Sunday.